Hello and welcome to the Rewild You podcast. I'm Hannah Ray, and through my work as a coach, I support people to rebuild and thrive beyond loss or adversity that changes our world. If you're looking to harness your inner strength, reclaim your authentic self, and create a purposeful, aligned life, this podcast is for you. Here we delve into powerful, real-life stories of transformation, plus tools and insights to help guide you to finding your way forward. If you're ready to rise stronger and live fully, to rewild you, you're in the right place. Let's get started.
I'm so excited to meet Linda to speak today. Yeah, I was just thinking about how we connected, and I remember when I'm still early days in my coaching business, but when it was super early days, I went and searched the Grief NZ hashtag on Instagram, and basically it was just you on their feed with all your amazing wisdom and stories and just powerful messages. And I was like, wow, I have to make this woman. This is so cool to see what you're up to in the grief space even back then. So thanks so much for joining.
Not my pleasure. I'm looking forward to chatting today. It's more of my journey.
Yeah. So let's get straight into it. Do you want to share us a little bit about the losses for you that we're speaking about today, and maybe just some insights into, I know you've spoken in various ways and different platforms about your journey, but is there something that maybe surprised you about grief, or maybe things that you don't often talk about?
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm here to start. So if anyone doesn't know me, kia ora, my name is Sarah, and I have been on a real roller coaster grief journey over the last 12 years. And usually when I tell this story, I can make it kind of a long version, a middle version, or a short version. So today, I thought I'd give the shortest version of my story so we can get into the good stuff. But at the age of 20, my father fell off a balcony up in the Marlborough Sound with no road access, and he died. And I didn't deal with that death very well at all. What made that really complex for me was that my father was an alcoholic, so I had a lot of mixed emotions around guilt and shame, and it was something that I'd held pretty close during my childhood years. So I didn't manage Dad's death very well, to be quite honest. And it led me on my healing journey. Just 6 years after Dad died, suddenly my mum, whilst I was overseas on Big OE in Colombia, I received another phone call, and they told me that Mum had had a brain aneurysm and that I needed to get back to New Zealand as fast as possible. It's pretty stressful going on 2 long-haul flights, not knowing if you get off that flight and your mum will still be alive. Mum was still alive when I got off the flight, and we rushed in here to ICU in Christchurch. And to make what was a really painful week in and out of operations, she's going to survive. She just won't walk, to we don't know what's going on. A few days later, they told us that she had less than 10% brain functioning left and that she wasn't going to survive. So I was 26 years old when both of my parents died, and it's been a real grief journey for me to those events, and I've learned a lot about grief and a lot about myself.
It's really, it's incredible what you have, how you've transformed and paid forward those experiences, but also just, incredible to have had your life. I imagine it's not how you imagined your 20s panning out, I think that's what's so unique about that, a loss happening when we're quite young, is that you're not necessarily established in life. You're supposed to be out there like exploring the world like you were. And you really had to face with these really big real life, the reality of life things that we tend to not expect until we're much older, or even happening to someone else. Never asked.
I think for me, it was grief made me grow up really quickly, and it made me realize a lot about life. And whilst I'm not in the depths of the darkness anymore, the darkness was the crack that shone the light in. It was that light that I really grabbed hold of, and has been what has been able to transform my life and completely change the direction of my life. Without the event, I certainly wouldn't be the person that I am today.
So I wonder if there was, for you, talking about being in the depths of grief, what shifted it for you to get from a place where you're in your 20s and you lost both your parents, and now obviously there's a lot that's happened in between then and now, but was it kind of a pivotal moment, or something that someone said, or was it more of a series of little discoveries and little steps along the way that shifted you in this direction?
Yeah, good question. There was one pivotal moment, or there's actually two pivotal moments that was defined my journey, as well as all the micro things that added up along the way. It was about 18 after my mum had died, and my coach at the time, she said something to me that was so confronting, but in reflection was the most transformative thing that changed the trajectory of my life. And she said to me, Sarah, you realize what you're choosing. And she didn't mean it in a way to offend me, but it was like, whoa, that's a lot to hear when you're in the depths of grief, right? But it was from that day forward that I decided that I was going to choose healing over suffering. And I was going to choose to let the experience make me instead of break me. And whilst those words are super confronting for a lot of people, she wasn't saying don't grieve. She was saying, you can choose to be the victim of this for the rest of your life and always be known as the girl with the two dead parents, or you can choose to do something phenomenal with your life and help other people along the way. And as you can see, it brings up a bit of emotion in me, because I made that choice that I wanted to not be defined by both my parents dying, and I wanted to do something with that trauma and with that pain and turn it into something that I could then help lots of other people.
It's pretty incredible. I mean, and your situation and in so many others, including myself, you've thrust into this experience where you have very little control over the external circumstances, impact on it all. And so it is, talking about it a lot, is that element of agency and choice. And yes, this has all happened. Of course, none of this happened overnight either. But yeah, this is what's happened, and what am I going to do with this? Is like taking that responsibility for, okay, there's an element of acceptance there, but then what happens next, and how do I see this? Or how do I want to take control of what I can control? I just keep coming back to that context of you in your 20s. I imagine that was a really tough thing to be faced with.
It's quite hard to describe, because most of my parents from my early 30s have both of their parents still alive. So not a lot of people I had a lot of support, but I didn't have anyone other than my two brothers, who understood what we were going through. And so, the other pivotal moment in my journey was I was at a counseling session, and I asked her, have you ever lost somebody that you love? And I was only 26, and she was about 20 years older than me. And she said, I regret to say, no, I haven't, Sarah, and I want to be honest with you. And there was nothing against what she said, but it was in that moment that I walked out of that counseling room. I was like, she's 20 years older than me, and she has no idea what I'm experiencing right now. I need to be that person for other people, so that when someone comes into my room and I help them, they can go, she's walked it. She understands the feeling to some degree of what I'm experiencing right now.
There's certainly a lot to be said for what you learn through living through something that you can't learn through a textbook or learn through video training or in the lecture room. Yeah, so you obviously were working with a coach at some point. You had your brothers and some supportive friends, and you're seeing a counselor. That's starting to build a picture of your support system for us. But what else did you lean on? Like, you didn't have people around you besides your brothers that really understood, really got it, like what you were going through. So I'd love to hear what you leaned on to get through.
Yeah, good question. For me, one of the things that been the blessing along this journey, and everybody has their own belief systems around spirituality or how they what they believe happens when you die. And when both your parents when you die, it's a pretty confronting world, thinking, well, there's nothing happening after death. They're just gone, and I've dealt hand and they are nowhere. So part of my healing journey was understanding how to connect with the other way. My belief is that nothing can be destroyed. It can only be transformed into something else. So somewhere their spirit is still alive, and I found real comfort in understanding the power of connecting with them whilst they're not necessarily here in the physical, understanding how to listen, how to tune into my intuition, how to be guided from them. And, that will be a forever journey. I've got a beautiful relationship with my parents. So just because they're not here in the physical doesn't mean that I'm not communicating with them in another way.
Mm-hmm. It's so beautiful. And it's sometimes it can really take something extreme adversity like that to start to unpack or look beyond these ways of, those belief systems that we've grown up with or modeled to us. And we're kind of forced or invited to look beyond and, really challenge what we believe to be true for ourselves and find something that does work. And it's just beautiful that you've been able to cultivate and develop that relationship with your parents in an energetic form.
And it doesn't come overnight. Like we've said, it sometimes I feel so far away. And there was something funny that happened just yesterday. I was coming back from Australia, and I usually mostly connect with my mum because she died more recently and we were really close. And one of the difficulties after Dad died is I needed to heal the relationship with him whilst he was deceased, because we weren't on good terms. Died. And that brings a lot of complexity to the grieving process, because everybody pedestals people when they've died. But I was just angry at him. And I didn't know how to, at the age of 20, to even start talking about like the hurt and the pain that I had experienced as a kid from being an alcoholic. So I had a lot of work to do healing that relationship. And anyway, coming back to what happened is someone on the plane was handing out the lollies, and my dad used to be the person on the plane that would go in with a massive handful of the airplane lollies on the plane. And I was sitting on the plane and I was just replaying it in my head, and how he used to come back home from all his work trips and we would run, Dad, where are the lollies? Dad, where are the lollies? And I was just sitting and replaying the plane. And in my head, I was like, isn't it just beautiful, even though I've had so much trauma through the experiences with Dad, that I can still remember these beautiful, beautiful memories. And it's all sparked by somebody handing out lollies on the plane.
It's wonderful to have moments like that. And I think some of that is not just time, but space and the intentional healing work and doing the best that we can to look after ourselves, to be able to reach those moments where we remember them or connect with them in a way that brings a smile to your face and that joy. And I'm sure that, because I still feel this too, is that there's those moments where you have those memories and it brings big emotion, the big grief and sadness and sorrow, and sometimes more complicated things like that regret and guilt and anger. And I'm curious whether this is from maybe your personal, whichever way you want to take it, whether it's in your personal life or professional, and you've been meeting with clients who are going through really similar experiences. And how do you manage your own and emotional well-being while these grief ambushes or grief waves still arrive and or you're encountering them? with clients as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I've mastered it yet, in all honesty. I'm learning and have been learning the whole time. I'm somebody who can cry at the drop of a hat. Whilst I am quite a direct and live a lot in my masculine energy, having brothers, I'm also quite an emotional person. Get that from my mum. So for me, one of the most important things that I do for myself and I help clients understand is that we are not our emotions, and emotions are just energy in our body trying to be moved. So instead of when I'm crying, being like, oh, well, why are you crying? And, you always cry, it means you're not over the grief, and creating all these narratives and stories. All I say to myself is just allow emotion to flow through your body, Sarah. It's okay. You're okay. If I need support from my partner, I'll ask that, but I don't attach a meaning or a narrative to making it not okay or making it meaning that I'm not coping. I just allow the emotion to process through my body. And that alone has been a massive part of my healing journey, is not suppressing anything, allowing it to come up in a safe space. We know the research shows us very loud and clear, if we're repressing emotions, or if we're not doing the work to allow that regulation, we can get sick.
Mm. Yeah, all of that science that is out there now is pretty confronting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a pretty good motivator because a lot of us, we weren't taught anything about emotions, to do with them, what they were, anything around emotional intelligence, and it probably wasn't modeled well in our families or our communities as well. So it is really, I think it's awesome to be part of this way more generation who are changing that, but also there is that really strong motivation, like this is actually really uncomfy in our bodies too.
100%. And I think, as you said, we bringing light to this is part of the work that both you and I do, and it's so important, especially in New Zealand, for people to understand that if we're suppressing emotions, there's so many ripples that happen by doing that, and giving people that safe space to be vulnerable and to work through their emotions is absolutely critical.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm imagining there's something that you learned over time as well. Like maybe it's something that has shifted for you, going from something like showing a sign of emotional weakness or other similar beliefs. Were there other beliefs that you found to be limiting, whether that's around emotional well-being or even grief specifically, that perhaps you encountered yourself or see really commonly with people that you work with?
Yeah, there's a couple there. When will this be over and moving on? Don't move on, you move with. And just by simply changing the word on to with, move with your grief. Allow it. It's not going away. It's going to be on the journey of life with you. And it might feel heavier at times. It will feel lighter. Sometimes, it will be there. But it's learning to navigate with it rather than trying to move on from it. That real cool aim for me has been really important. This year will be years since my mum died. And a lot of people think that sounds like a long time. But I can remember like it was yesterday. And then what happened, I don't think enough people talk about this, that you don't always just grieve the person, you grieve the passage of time. And you grieve that I haven't seen or created memories, I haven't had a phone call or a text message in 6 years. And whilst people think that's fine, you have to also grieve that passage. And for me, I think a lot of the grieving that I still do is, yes, I missed mum and want her back, but I actually do a lot of grieving of, man, it's already 6 years and I haven't created any new memories. So it's really important to understand that time can be a really hard thing to get around in the grieving journey.
Yeah, I think into my own experience, and time is definitely not linear. Walk around and does really strange thing. And I think what you're speaking about moving with and because the grief is, as you say, it's not one thing that you're grieving. So it's not going to diminish linearly with time. There's other parts or other things that you're missing out on, or there's memories or milestones. And the grief itself is evolving and a fluid thing as well that we move with. I think that, yeah, you're so right. We don't talk enough about that. It's so common to think, oh yeah, we're up to 12 months of the year now and it'll move on. Like, I'm fine now.
Yeah. And then the set of stigma or society of judgment, even for me, I'm like, 6 years this year, like people will just think, must be over it by now. But unless you've really lost somebody that you love and was a piece of your heart, those are the people who doesn't work like that. And, being young like yourself and myself, the more we educate, the more we can speak up about grief, the more people learn. And it's not that it's going to make the journey any less confronting or difficult. It's just that they know the resources are there and that they're not alone.
I think of this as like the dark. Like when I was a kid, I was terrified of the dark because there's so much unknown out there. And I feel like it's the same with anything else that we don't understand. And grief falls into that category. We don't really understand, even though we might be experiencing loss, but we just don't want to go there because, and I have some people talk about that's a can of worms that I don't want to open. It'd be too overwhelming, or if I go down there, I'll get back. But yeah, as you say, the more that we can talk about it and what it looks like, and talk about some of the more modern bereavement science, and there's body research as well, and what happens to our emotions, the more empowered we can be in that experience. You say it's not going to make it necessarily any easier, but it does really help to understand, have that understanding, can lay that or create space for some compassion.
100%. And I couldn't agree with you more. Grief is the biggest teacher. You can learn about grief through lots of textbook podcasts, and they're all great reads. But until you're in it, will you experience your own journey? Everyone's journey is unique and individual to them, as you know. And of course it is, because your relationship with the person was unique and individual to you. So it experiences, but it is a really individual journey for each person. And I think that, there's no one size fits all.
So I have one final question for you that I ask all of my guests, and that is whether that comes from, I know you've been your personal experience with and bring that into your professional work anyway, but do you have some wisdom for someone who might be just feeling really stuck, really overwhelmed, really isolated, and like, oh my gosh, no one else is going through something like this?
100%. The first thing, and this may be an unpopular opinion, the first thing obviously is knowing that you're not alone. I know that grief can feel really isolating and lonely, and that's why I always want to find people that you're not alone. The second thing for me, and a lot of the work I do in the coaching space is around taking action. And whether it's on your grieving journey, whether it's on your personal development journey, whether you're experiencing anxiety, whether you're feeling stuck, whether you're struggling with something, the thing that's going to shift you out of that position or out of that space is taking an action. Maybe that action is self-care. Maybe that action is reaching out to someone for support. Maybe that action is buying a book to learn. But action is the only thing that shifts reality. And for me on my journey, I could have just, as I said, been the victim of my situation. And the reason that I no longer am is because I took action. I decided and made a powerful choice that I needed healing. I needed to work through this. I understood that I couldn't just think about it. I couldn't just think about that. I couldn't just think about getting better and getting help. But that all came taking that first step. And that step is going to be different for everyone. But anyone in a difficult position or in a struggle right now, what's going to help you get out of there is just taking that first action.
Absolutely. And it's often a whole lot easier with some kind of support, whether that's a friend or a mentor or a coach, a therapist, just helping with that accountability. If it's someone that has walked that path before, then that's a super added. Because we're not designed to do this alone, and we're not alone.
100%.
Okay. I have one last question. My absolute final question, Sarah, is what you're excited about at the moment, whether it's personally or in your work, and where can folks learn more about what you do and what you're
Very much. Yeah, good question. Love that question. What I'm excited about the most right now is that I've been helping people at a large capacity with my Breakthrough Blueprint program. Now, the Blueprint program that I run is the exact blueprint that I've been on myself, which has created transformational change in my life through understanding the mind, understanding the body, and understanding healing. For me, that it excites me because it makes me step outside of my comfort zone, and it's something that I've really been brewing up for the last kind of 18 months, 2 years, and the results that people are getting in these cohorts and in these groups is absolutely phenomenal. So that's what's exciting for me. I obviously always in different personal development rooms, reading different books, learning, growing, all of that excites me. Personally, I'm heading to Bali in a couple of months, and I'm really excited to jump back into some healing spaces, whether that be Kundalini, breath work, but being over there and being in some really solid healing spaces is a really exciting personal thing for me coming up in the next few months.
That sounds delightful. I just wanted to, it's really interesting to pull that thread through of what you shared about going to see the counsellor, and you asked her if she'd ever experienced a loss, and in that moment you'd made that decision to say, I'm going to be that person for someone else who might have experienced something you're really challenging with, that's a loss of something else. I know you work with older clients too, but especially in the 20s and 30s age group, is just adds a whole another dimension of awesomeness to your coaching containers and group programs now. So yeah, I can just imagine the incredible value and transformation that you're creating and facilitating inside those programs.
Thank you. It's been an pleasure to be on here today with you, Hannah, and I just wanted to say thank you for the amazing work that you do in the grief, the path, that lived experience that I know, so courageous to be continuing to step into lives like this. Like, it's so easy to just stay in your comfort zone and do those things, but I appreciate you. I see you continuing to step outside of your comfort zone and do the hard things. A pleasure walking the journey with you.
Thank you. It's a beautiful morning for mutual appreciation. Thank you so much, Sarah. We'll let you go. If anyone has any questions or comments or wants to chat about anything, then get in touch with either of us and we can either help you or point you in the right direction. Have a lovely day, folks, and we'll see you again soon.
Thanks so much for tuning in. Your support and precious attention means a lot. If today's episode resonated with you, I'd love for you to share your insights and takeaways on socials and tag at RewildYouHQ. If you're ready to rebuild and thrive beyond your loss or adversity, visit rewildyouhq.com for free resources and to learn more about how transformative, dedicated coaching can support you on your journey. Not sure where to begin? DM RewildYouHQ on Instagram and I'll be happy to guide you in the right direction. Take care out there, and I'll see you in the next episode.